Good afternoon on this very beautiful October afternoon. My name is Blake. Thank you for watching my video, especially if you're new here. And today I want to list apps that you need as a foreigner in China. Apps that are essential, apps that are absolutely needed in order to have a much easier transition and time being in China. Now, if you are planning on coming to China as a tourist, you're just visiting, then some of these apps will be beneficial for you. But this video is mostly for people who are living in China, people who are studying here, teaching here, doing some kind of work here, doing business here. This video has most apps designed for foreigners living in China, but there are going to be some apps that you will need here as a tourist as well. The first app that I recommend is a VPN. It's not only a recommendation, it is essential. Now, I made a video almost a month ago, around a month ago, about VPNs in China. Check that video out. It will be in the description below. But I use Let's VPN. Do your own research on VPNs, but you need a VPN in China. I use WhatsApp very often to communicate with my father back home. We need Facebook, we need Instagram, we need X, we need all the social media apps to keep in touch with our friends and family members. You do not have access to these apps in China because they're all blocked. You check your email. You need Gmail or whatever you use, Yahoo, AOL. You get the picture. A VPN is what is needed in China because it enables you to use these websites that are blocked in China. So please get yourself a VPN, do your own research, and choose the best VPN that is best for you. The first app I'll recommend is for navigation. It is called Apple Maps. I honestly didn't know about Apple Maps before I came to China to work here, but Apple Maps is good because you don't need to know Chinese or speak Chinese or even read Chinese to use Apple Maps. It is very English friendly. You could type whatever place you want to go to in English and it will pop up, and you could use the walking navigation, you can use the taxi navigation to get around. So Apple Maps is very good and it's in English, and you don't need a VPN to use Apple Maps in China. My first week in China, not even my first week, my first few days, I tried to use Google Maps. The thing about Google Maps is that in China, even with a VPN, yes, you can type in your navigation, it will help you get to where you need to go, but with Google Maps, it freezes very often in China. It will freeze often and it is very ineffective. So my advice is, whether you are a tourist, plan on being a tourist here, whether you plan on living here or are currently here, do not use Google Maps because it will freeze and will be very unproductive. Use Apple Maps and it's very English friendly. Let's say you know Chinese or you're pretty good at it. Then the navigation apps I recommend are Baidu Maps and Tencent Maps. I downloaded these apps when I first came to China, but they are completely in Chinese. They are not English friendly, so I couldn't use it. But Baidu Maps and Tencent Maps, these brands, Baidu and Tencent, are Chinese. So I think these apps are much better, much more accurate. So if you are good at Chinese or you're pretty good at it, use these apps. They're completely in Chinese. Use these navigation and it will tell you where you need to go, no problem. The next app I recommend is Shanghai Metro. Now, I don't live in a big city. I sometimes visit Shanghai. I visit Hangzhou sometimes. I live near those cities. I can get there very quickly by train. You get the point. If you're visiting a city with a metro subway system, then you need to download Shanghai Metro. If you are visiting Shanghai or any big city like Hangzhou, it can be pretty overwhelming once you get to the subway station and you see the map and you see how giant it is, especially in Shanghai. You see how big it is. However, there is nothing to worry about. This app is in English and it's in Chinese too. You just click on the map, click on the line you're on. There are several lines. Make sure you know what line you're on and where you're going. Click on the station you're departing from. Click on the station that you are going to. Once you do that, you will be told by the navigation how to get there, how many stations away it is. If you're transferring, it tells you when you transfer, what line you're transferring to. It's very convenient, very easy to use, and I always use it whenever I go to Shanghai. The only big cities I've visited in China are Shanghai and Hangzhou. I'd like to visit more. I've only been here for almost 7 months. But my friend who recommended this app to me told me that if you're in another city like Beijing or any other big city, this app you could also use, okay? The location will automatically change in the app. And if it has a metro, those stations will be available and you can use it there too. So download this app, it's very good. Whether you are going to be living in China as a foreigner or whether you're going to be visiting, hey, we need to get around, right? We need a taxi. Back in my country, the United States, we use Uber and Lyft. In Southeast Asian countries, they use Grab. In countries like Russia and Kazakhstan and Georgia, countries that were part of the Soviet Union, they use Yandex. You get the point. Every country has their own taxi service that you can use that's very affordable. In China, we use Didi. Use D-I-D-I-D-D. This is the app you can use to get around, to go places. You type the place in English, it will show up. You can go there and the drivers will pick you up. No problem at all. The cool thing about Didi is that even if you're not using the app itself, you can use Didi on WeChat. We'll get the WeChat later. You can also use it on Alipay, which we'll get to later too. On Alipay and WeChat, on the ride-hailing feature, under the services, you can call a Didi through WeChat. On Alipay, on the transport feature, you can call a Didi on Alipay. So it's very convenient. Even if you don't have Didi, you can use it on WeChat and Alipay. With these apps, you, just like Uber, like any transportation app with taxis, you choose the kind of car you want. You want the basic economy class, basic car, no problem. It'll be at a lower, more affordable price. Hey, do you want to upgrade, get yourself a nicer car, the premium car? You can go up the list if you want. You can pay more if you want to pay more, but those features are available. Sometimes, especially during holidays, there are a shortage of drivers. There are not many drivers to take you. So the nice thing about these apps, I usually use the Alipay, but I'm sure WeChat's the same. When there are a shortage of drivers and it's taken a long time to find a driver, all you need to do is upgrade, pay a little more, and usually when you have more options by picking more, someone will pick you up very quickly. So that's the nice thing about this app. It will tell you that if you upgrade, you'll have a better response rate. These apps are also very affordable. My brother-in-law and another relative, his aunt, who was also my aunt, I guess, but you get the picture. They visited us because we had a child 2 weeks ago, and they had to go back to Russia, so they had to go to the airport. They had to call a taxi from Alipay to go to Shanghai Pudong Airport from Jiaxing, which is about a couple hours away. The price from going to Jiaxing to Shanghai Pudong Airport was only 518 yuan. In US, in Korea, that would be much more expensive. So here, it's much more affordable when it comes to public transportation. It's very cheap compared to other places. So I highly recommend downloading these apps. If you use a taxi from the street or especially from the airport, they will charge you double that price. So please download Didi and use the feature of transportation on Alipay and on WeChat. This app I'm about to mention is really important for communication. WeChat. The Chinese call it Weixin. WeChat is an app you must have, especially if you are going to be living in China. Think of WhatsApp. If you're from Korea or live in Korea, think of Kakao Talk. If you're from Russia or live in Russia, think of Telegram. WeChat is just another messaging service that you can use in China to communicate with your foreign friends in China, to communicate with your Chinese friends, to communicate with your co-workers. You get the gist. WeChat is a messaging service in China for texting and calling. But the cool thing about WeChat is that it's not just for texting and calling. You could use it for other things as well. As I stated earlier, you could use WeChat for calling a taxi. Do you want to order delivery? Want to order some food? Use WeChat. You want some medicine delivered to you from the pharmacy? Use WeChat. Would you like to purchase movie tickets? Would you like to do it before you get to the theater? Use WeChat. You could use WeChat. You get to the theater, they scan your barcode to prove you bought the tickets, and you're going to the theater. So WeChat is not just for texting and calling. It is good for other things as well. When you get yourself a bank account in China, you also must use WeChat to pay for things. You could use Alipay too, but WeChat is also needed to pay for things. You attach your bank account to your WeChat profile and you go to the services tab, go to money, you scan your barcode on your phone, the cashier will scan it, and the item is purchased. So WeChat is also used by the Chinese and foreigners for paying for things and buying things online in China. Do you need to transfer money to somebody? Do you want to give someone a gift? in China to a foreigner or to a Chinese person. You could also use WeChat for transferring money and buying people gifts. So you get the gist. WeChat is a great app. It is very recommended and is essential if you are living in China. The next app I recommend is Alipay. Yes, Alipay and WeChat are the big services for paying for things in China if you're not using cash. The system in China is geared to make you want to use your phone to pay for things. So WeChat, and now there's Alipay. Like WeChat, with Alipay, you attach your bank account to your profile to pay for things. As I stated earlier, you could also use Alipay for ordering a taxi. Do you want to order food? Do you need medicine? Like WeChat, Alipay is very similar. They're both essentially the same in most areas, yes. However, and a big however, what sets Alipay apart from WeChat, and I personally prefer Alipay more, is with Alipay, they have a translating feature. When you're using the app, if you can't read Chinese, if you can't understand it, then you don't even have to download the translating feature. Alipay automatically has a translating feature. You just press the translating button and it will translate whatever you're reading into English. So it's very convenient. I honestly don't know if it translates the Chinese into other languages, but it definitely translates into English. So that's very convenient. When I use WeChat, I very often have to screenshot and use the Google Translate to translate from Chinese into English. It's not a complaint, but it is something I do. So Alipay has that very convenient feature. Like WeChat, you can also use Alipay to send people money. For people in China, obviously. You can send people money to people who are in China. I don't know if you could send people gifts on Alipay. I'm sure you could. I've never tried it. But like WeChat, you can send people money on Alipay. One more thing about Alipay, it's not as heavy on messaging as WeChat is. It's not known and not primarily used for messaging. But if you want to text and message people on Alipay, you can do that. Another app that I highly recommend and that most foreigners would recommend, perhaps all of them, is Mwan. Mwan is a delivery app. If you ever don't feel like cooking, let's say you get home from work and you're just too tired to cook or you're too lazy to cook, we all get there sometimes, then Mwan is used to order food to get delivered to you. Mwan is not just for food. Let's say you want to give your wife or girlfriend surprise flowers, then you can use Mwan and get them ordered and delivered to where you want them delivered. Are you feeling sick? Do you have a cold? Are you sneezing? Do you need medicine? Use Mwan to get medicine, basic medicine, cough syrup, those things delivered to you. I've only used Mwan for those things, for food and flowers and medicine, but it has a whole variety of things you could use it for, including grocery shopping. You could order food from the supermarket, whatever you want, and the delivery driver will deliver your groceries to you. Anything you order will be delivered in a timely manner. No more, in my experience, usually no more than 50 minutes to an hour, but usually between 35 and 40 minutes. Another app I highly recommend is Taobao. Taobao is the Amazon of China. Only thing about Taobao is it does not, at least to my knowledge, deliver internationally. Only delivers domestically in China. But with Taobao, like Amazon, anything you could think of, you can get it on there. Do you need clothes? Do you need shoes? Do you need sandals? Do you need whatever you want? You can get it on Taobao. Now there is Pandaboo. It is the same as Taobao, but Taobao is more popular and more people use it, so I just use Taobao. My wife is always on Taobao, and Taobao is very good. You usually get your things within 3 days, maybe 4 days tops, but usually within 2 or 3 days, it gets delivered to you. Many people like to use Taobao because it is cheaper and more affordable. And most of the things you get on there are of good quality as well. I wanted to add that Taobao has a very good AI texting feature. It especially comes in handy if you get something and you don't like it for whatever reason. The process of returning it and getting your money back is very simple. Throughout my time in Asia, in South Korea and here, buying shoes can be a challenge. I have big feet. In China, my size is a size 47. In Korea, my size was a size 300. In America, it's about a 13 and a half. So you get the point. I have very big feet, and in Asia, it is very difficult to find my size. So if I buy shoes in China, it's better to do it online. About 3 or 4 months ago, I bought shoes in China, and I didn't know the size I had. It was my first time buying shoes in China. So I decided to try a size 46. The shoes were good. They looked cool. but the problem is they were a little too tight. They were not comfortable. So I wanted to swap them for a size 47. I didn't have to go to a post office. I didn't have to go anywhere to get this done. The AI text feature sent the driver within a day. The next day, I believe, the driver came, took my shoes, and within a few days, the size 47 was delivered, and I still have those shoes. So Meituan is very good when it comes to exchanges and refunds. My mistake, I didn't get a refund, just exchanged it, but if you needed a refund in that situation, they'd give it to you without any problems. Now, if you are a foreigner living in a foreign country, hey, we like to travel, we like to visit different places domestically in the country, so I recommend Trip. Trip is an app that many foreigners I've encountered recommended to me when I first came. I can see why. Trip is very easy to use, and once again, English friendly. You can use it to buy train tickets, you could use it to buy plane tickets, whether it's domestic or whether it is international. Use trip.com. The prices are very reasonable, it's very easy to use, and it's good. Many foreigners use trip.com in China. You could use your card that's Chinese with your Chinese bank account, or you could use your Alipay or WeChat. Whether you're buying train tickets or plane tickets, domestic or international, trip.com is a solid feature for traveling in China. Now, Chinese is a very difficult language that I intend on eventually learning. I don't know how long I'll live here, but I need to learn. So I usually use a translator. I use Google Translate, which you need a VPN to use. But if for whatever reason you don't want to use Google Translate, Microsoft Translate is a translator available in China that does not require a VPN to use. Like Google Translate or any other translating app, you just translate from your language, whether it's English or whatever language you speak, to Chinese, and you show it to the person you're communicating with. Most of the time, if not every time, the person will get what you're trying to say and you'll be assisted. It's just my experience. It doesn't apply to everybody, but when I was using Microsoft Translate for a little bit, I had a hard time with the camera feature. It took me a little longer to get the message across. Maybe I'm just more used to Google Translate. Maybe Google Translate's better. It's much quicker for me, but maybe that's just my experience. So Microsoft Translate, if you don't want to use a translator that requires a VPN, Microsoft Translate is what you can use. There you have it. These are all the apps that I believe are essential apps to use if you are living in China. Now, obviously, some of these apps you need even if you're visiting here. Do you believe that there are some apps that I should have mentioned that I didn't? Drop a comment below. Do you agree with everything I said about the apps that are essential? Drop a comment below. Do you think, whatever you think, drop a comment below. If you've watched from beginning to end, I appreciate you. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Take care of yourselves.